This is the neck that we're doing for the Iron Maiden Dave Murray tribute guitar. I've shown you how to get all of these frets to where we are. Here's a little bit better look at it. Here you can see that we've got nice rounded bullet ends, got a nice even crown across the top. You can see there's still some tool marks from the previous attempts in the fingerboard, which I'll attempt to get those out as well. So we might have to do a little bit more scraping. You can see the rolled fingerboard there. It's not perfect yet, but that will come with sanding. Now you can still see on the ends of these bullets, so you can see that they're nice and rounded, the shape's all there, but you can see that they're quite rough still. There's tooling marks, and these are not shiny and polished like what we want them. We're going to strip all the paint off the back of the neck. I'm going to work out how I'm going to get a nice neat line on here. There is a little bit of damage just still there. You can see that just there. I'll have to try and touch that up and work out how we're going to do that, but I want to try and make that as neat as I can around there. So first things first, let's get the paint off the back of this. We will sand the frets, round over the fingerboard, and at the same time take care of these ends and get all the tooling marks out of these frets, and then we'll work through the polishing and buffing, and by the end of it those frets should be shiny and clean and new, and I'll come back in and give you another close-up on how they look. Let's see if we can get some of this paint off. Just burnt my pad. That's super annoying. So the trick here is not to try and take all of it off at once like that, because you end up with a jagged edge. You want to take smooth passes at it and just take a bit off at a time, and eventually it will get down to the wood. See, boom, you get a nice neat edge on it. A nice wood scraper would be good for this, but I'm just using this carving knife. You could just use a sharp kitchen knife if you wanted to, or some type of utility knife. A pocket knife would do the job too. Jesus, I melted that too. Like I'm going to set the place on fire soon. Alright, be careful, it's going to be hot. Now, while you're doing this, if you touch it and it's too hot for your hands to touch, just take a break and let it cool down, because if you get it too hot, you'll start to loosen the glue under that fingerboard, and you don't want to do that because then the neck might move. This one does have a back bow on it. Could have been a good opportunity to clamp it, but I know that this neck, that back bow comes out when it's under tension, so I'm not too worried about it. And from what I can see, that is a really nice piece of maple. I'm going to go outside and sand the rest of this paint off because I've probably made enough of a mess in here for now.
2,000 years later.
Okay, so after a shit ton of sanding, we've finally got this. Look at what we have. Beautiful piece of maple. Single piece, no scarf joint, nothing like that. And it's actually got a little bit of figuring in it too. So I reckon with a bit of stain on it, this is gonna look $1,000,000. In case you're wondering, I started with 100 grit to get all of that leftover black paint and stuff off. And it also had a sealer coat on it as well that needed to come off because we're gonna stain this. Then I went to a 180 grit. And then I went to a 240 grit. It's come up really nice. It's nice and smooth. So now all of the fret sprout that was there is nice and smooth as well. And now it'll be time. I think we can finish these frets before we do the staining and oiling. This has come up pretty good, but there are a little bit of defects around the edge of the paint. So we'll try and get that sorted out when I sand that clear coat down. Okay, using the Fretilizer system again, I'm going to start with 400 grit, so like a wet and dry type sandpaper, and the foam block. What we're going to start with is we're going to get these ends really nice and smooth and shiny. I'll bring that camera in and give you a really good look at these once I'm done. I've got some mobile footage of them prior to doing this. So, and then once I've done this, we're going to once again move through all the grits. So we go. These are micro mesh as well, so it's like a material type sandpaper. So micro mesh is a little bit higher grade than what normal wet and dry is, I think. We go through the 1500, then the 2400, then the 4000, and the 8000, and that seems to get it to a really good point for then just polishing with a metal polish. And I think I've got these pretty close to where I need them. So what this does is essentially it takes out any tooling marks that are left on the edges. Certainly not a finishing part, but this is where we want to start with getting out any type of tooling mark, because we want these fret ends to just look like glass. Now what I do is I take the block and I use the back edge when I come this way, and then use the other edge when I go that way. It seems to be the way to get these looking really good. And then same across these. And then once I've done that a little bit, I just want to very lightly go this way. Don't worry about too much about this because I am really finishing all of that fingerboard anyway, so not a big deal. Really annoyed about my mat. Can't believe I burnt that with my heat gun. What a muppet. It wasn't very old either. I have to buy another one. Now we're up to the 8000, so I've just worked my way through the 1500, 2400, the 4000. If you want to see how this system works, check out that video up there. What I like to do with it, the first thing I do is run along the edges. So sorry about the poor quality of mobile phone footage. I don't have a macro lens for my good cameras, so I'll have to try and figure that out. But you can see we've got nice rounded polished frets, and that rolled fingerboard is looking pretty schmicko. All the tooling marks gone, and these are super smooth and glassy. The next thing for this neck is to get this pale white maple neck dyed up to a bit more of a vintage amber colour. But for now, I think our next move is on to the body.